Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. The current close range meta here in Warzone is actually one of the most competitive that we've really ever seen, especially this year. They buffed and nerfed some various different options lately just to make things even more competitive. And right now, as it stands, when it comes to weapons purely built for the close range, you've got a ton of good variety and a ton of good options here. So that said, today we are breaking down all of the best close range meta weapons and loadouts, starting first with one of my new personal favorites, the Kompakt. They ended up buffing this thing with season 1 reloaded. It is now one of the fastest TTK options in the close range. It's also a super aggressive SMG. Reminds me a lot of like the OG MP5 from like Warzone 1. Different feel to it to a certain extent, but also a lot of similarities there for sure. So first up, when it comes to this setup, I am using a base compensator. Yes, I'm going to show on the radar, but I'm also way more accurate. Plus close range, I mean, you're going to be fighting where the enemies can see you. You might invite some third parties, but you're also going to, at that point, rely on everyone else in the fight also running a suppressor for no one to see any red dots on the map, right? Which is probably a little bit more unrealistic. So compensator, make sure you are laser accurate, and that's obviously super important with the fire rate like this. Every bullet counts. I also go for the Ranger foregrip here. Helps speed me up with some sprinting movement speed, but I also get some horizontal control, so the weapon is easier and it's more aggressive. That's a win-win outright. Extended 3 here gives you a 60 round extended mag. Extended 2 is only 50. It's going to be a little bit faster, but either way, you burn through ammo with this thing. Like, the fire rate on here is crazy. You're going to want all the ammo you can get for sure. I also like the ergonomic rear grip here. That'll help out the ADS, the slide to fire speed and everything there. So we end up with a 215 ADS, a 170 sprint to fire, a 160 slide to fire. If you're utilizing movement, this is still going to be plenty aggressive. Then personally, I also like the recoil springs. I just find to be way more accurate when I'm using something like this as opposed to maybe a barrel to extend the range or a stock or something. And as I mentioned, accuracy is just so important with a weapon like this. So you end up being deadly accurate. You're still super aggressive, and the weapon is, absolutely just thriving in the close range right now. Now, no surprise, but obviously the Jackal is still a top tier choice here. This thing's got a quick TCK. It's got really good range as well. It's easy to use. It's checking all the right boxes for an SMG. This has been a meta option since the first Black Ops 6 beta, all through the launch of Black Ops 6 multiplayer, and surprise, surprise, here in Black Ops 6 Warzone, it's still one of the top tier choices as well. So here in this case, I am using the suppressor. The weapon is just a lot easier to use inherently, so I don't feel like you need to use a compensator, but if you wanted to, never would be a bad choice here. But of course, when you can stay off the radar, it's nice. I also go for the reinforced barrel, helping out with some range and some velocity there. We end up with just under a 13 meter effective damage range and a 662 velocity stat, which is going to be fantastic for pretty much every single realistic fight we're taking with this thing. Ranger foregrip here as well. It's one of the best options you can run on any gun that's remotely aggressive in the game, which obviously fits the close range meta perfectly. So we're going to see that a lot in this video. Surprise, surprise. Extended 2 is 50 here, but with this fire rate, that's going to work just fine. Then lastly, I really like the balanced stock on here. Better base movement, ADS strafe, general strafe as well. You're just going to be a lot more aggressive with this thing on there. It's got clean iron, so you don't have to burn an attachment there. So across the board, the Jackal is just doing it all, and it's doing it all really, really well. My personal favorite SMG here is the PP919. This thing is just so insanely reliable. It is easy to use. It's got a great effective damage range. It's got all the ammo in the world. You do not need to worry when you're using this gun. You know it's going to do well in a fight. You know it's going to compete, and you know it's going to be easy to use. So anyone can pick this thing up, and you're going to find success with it. Again, going for simply a suppressor here to stay off the radar. Reinforced barrel here as well. Just added velocity and range. That's a win-win for sure. We're up to a 15 meter effective damage range, is 702 velocity, so a little bit more versatile than the Jackal, of course. Ergonomic rear grip in this case because we don't need a magazine. Obviously 64 by default is plenty for any kind of fight there, so getting a faster ADS and slide to fire speed is obviously very important there. Balanced stock, yet again, just even more movement benefits. Then I personally like recoil springs here too, just to ensure that I am as accurate as I can possibly be. And like when you land shots of this thing, it just feels so incredibly good. Like I said, this is probably my favorite weapon in the entire game right now. And by the way, as we are breaking down all the weapons and setups here today, if you find the video helpful or you simply enjoy it, a like rating is always seriously appreciated. Seriously, much love to all of you guys who have shown so much support on all the videos since Black Ops 6 and Warzone dropped. It means so much to me. You guys crush it every single day. And of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not subscribed yet, every single day, I got you covered with the latest meta weapons and meta breakdowns alongside all the news, updates, patch notes, and everything else going on in COD. So if you want to make sure you are in the know, be sure to hit that subscribe button and join us on the road to 1 million subs. Next up here, another SMG that I love the feel of. It also got buffed recently, which is always is a W, the C9. It is a very straightforward SMG, fast, aggressive, easy, quick TTK. That's about all you need for a close range option, right? Here again, I do go for the compensator. You could absolutely use a suppressor here though if you're already comfortable with the control. I just like the feel of the compensator here. I feel like I just melt with this up close because I don't have to worry about recoil control at all, but the suppressor's never a bad choice, right? Staying off the radar is always good. Ranger foregrip here again, same deal as before. Extended 2 in this case is the max. It's going to be 50. Self-explanatory there, works for all squad sizes. Ergonomic rear grip for the better slide to fire, ADS dive to fire, way more aggressive. Then I personally like balanced stock on this build as well for all the movement benefits that you get there. I think this gun is also really, a great benefit of using gunfighter, where you could put on overpressure to recoil springs, put on a long barrel, extend the range, use an optic if you wanted to, or a laser if you didn't care about an optic there. You could absolutely always upgrade to that, and it's going to be pretty self-explanatory. You're just plugging and playing all the other attachments we don't typically have on a build like this with all the ones we're using on the other builds, right? Just mixing and matching the best of everything there. Hey folks, first off, happy holidays. Secondly, if you're looking for a fantastic gift this season, G Fuel has you covered. They've got the tubs with a ton of different flavors, so quite literally something for everyone there. The hydration formula as well, and of course the cans if you're looking for max energy. So if you're looking to put some G Fuel under the tree, or maybe as a perfect stocking stuffer gift, use code Immortal at checkout. That'll save you some cash. Link for that will be down in the description below. Now, I'm personally very glad this is still a part of the close range meta because it's one of my favorite weapons dating back to MW3 Warzone last year, and that's the MCW conversion kit. This is primarily a great sniper support choice, so pair this with your LR762 or your car or whatever other sniper you want to use, right? But even just as an objective close range option, it's got one of the best TTKs in the entire game, crazy good range, and because of the aftermarket part, it's a particularly aggressive rifle. Like, it's actually very, very agile for a rifle at its core, right? So of course the Jack Raven kit is the most important part of this entire setup. You throw that on, it basically turns it into an AR SMG hybrid. I also end up going for the cutthroat stock since we are just up close focusing on aggressiveness. This is going to increase my movement speed, my strafe, and just make it all around even more agile, which is obviously a great feel there. 40 round extended mag is the max here because of the aftermarket part, so of course we're going to be using that. Spirit fire suppressor, much like all the other suppressors, is going to go through and help out with the velocity and the range, just make it more versatile across the board. Then I find myself to be much more accurate using an optic, so I go for the Nightar model 2023. If there's a different scope that you like the feel of more, always go for that. Personal preference in optics is the most important thing at the end of the day, but the MCW conversion absolutely fries. And we do have another shotgun. Gotta give credit where credit is due. Shout out Gumi, the shotgun guru. You recently brought attention to the fact that the MX Guardian is actually pretty nice right now, and you can actually use this a couple of different ways. Personally, after I've gone through and played with it a bit, I like the ADS full auto build the most, but with the burst fire trigger, it's also very good, and it's even solid in semi-auto mode as well. So depending on your playstyle and what you want to get out of a shotgun, you can build this a couple of different ways. But first up here, I like the Kimura laser. It's going to help out with a bunch of different things. Your aim walking steadiness, your sprint to fire, your ADS, everything going on there is a lot better. I also go for the rear grip. The Stream SK helps out with ADS and sprint to fire. The one thing this weapon suffers from is a slow ADS, 411, and the ADS build is what we're focused on here, obviously, so you got to be able to, pre-aim corners accordingly and get used to that style of play. But if you can do so, this thing has the chance to rip. I also like the Jack slash underbarrel here. Speeds it up, but also keeps it a little bit easier to use as well with the better control as you're spamming, because this is an iron sight build. I go for the HVP LM barrel, helps out with some range and then some velocity as well. Then I also use the Schwang DX. I don't know how to say that, but it's the first suppressor, basically. Keeps you off the radar, but also helps out velocity and range, which is cool too there. So ADS build, it melts up close. Again, toxic to run into, but as I mentioned earlier, you could even use semi-auto or burst fire on this thing and, adjust your build accordingly if you want to go for hip fire, if you want to stick with ADS, and it'll still be really good too. So a bunch of different ways to use it. All of them for the MX Guardian are very efficient. Now, for whatever reason, Call of Duty only ended up nerfing the Striker 9 and not the base Striker when they attacked some MW3 guns with Season 1 Reloaded. So the base Striker is still fantastic. It has an insane range, one of the best sniper support guns in the entire game, and in general for the close range, it's got a quick TTK as well. So with this setup here, I don't really like the irons, especially just with how this gun feels right now in BO6 Warzone. I gotta use an optic. I went for a slate, but a Nightar. Anything else that you're comfortable with would also work well there. Sonic suppressor will function like the other suppressors, of course, giving you better velocity and range on there. Recon long barrel also helps out with velocity and range. So with that said, we end up with almost a 14-meter effective damage range and a 667 velocity, both great stats for SMGs. Jack slash on here as well for better movement and some better control, so the weapon's a bit easier but also faster. Then of course just the 60-round extended mag, very basic there. That'll work for all squad sizes. But yes, an MW3 sub is actually extremely competitive right now, which is definitely good. And it's not the only MW3 SMG that's good. The FJX Horus is the true definition of a close range meta because its first damage range, it is the best TTK in basically the entire SMG category. Outside of its first damage range, it's not that good, but close range, this fits that description very, very well. Surprisingly, this is a build that you wouldn't think is, comparable to others in terms of mobility and movement, but it is. Again, same deal with the striker. Optics with the iron sights just don't feel good. I don't feel comfortable, so I use a NIDAR in this case, and I'm way more accurate. Quartermaster suppressor slows you down, but it's going to help out with recoil control, and this gun needs help with recoil control. But that said, you would think using something like that and then the Sin 9 long barrel to help out with range and velocity and whatnot would slow you down a ton. Not really. You still have a 127 sprint to fire and a 220 ADS. It's not the fastest ADS, but it's far from the slowest with builds like these. Jack slash again for movement and control. Then the 60-round extended mag you definitely want here. You will burn through ammo with this thing, so you need that. You need to be accurate, but if you can, land shots on target, you're gonna melt away. And then lastly here, the Renetti conversion kit as a pistol is phenomenal. So if you want to use a gunfighter loadout on your primary weapon and you're stuck with a pistol, the Renetti full auto conversion is basically a pocket SMG, right? So obviously you need to have the Ferocity carbine kit on there. That's what's gonna make this gun so good. The base Renetti is not bad, but this is what truly has an actual realistic competitive TTK. It's full auto, so of course we want the max ammo here. 50-round extended mag works fine for that. The pineapple underbarrel is going to work like a lot of the other vertical ones. It's just straight up meant for recoil control, and it's not going to slow you down, which is a huge win there. So you get free accuracy basically. Mod suppressor, same deal here. It's going to help out with range and velocity just like all the other basic suppressors, so it doesn't really matter what you're choosing there. And then for the optic, it's just a matter of preference. They're kind of bugged on here sometimes. Like I put the NIDAR on, it doesn't load in. I put the slate, sometimes it loads in. Slimline, like whatever optic you want to use here, if it actually functions with the weapon, is good to go. But that being said, you've got some options here for the close range. A lot of variety, some SMGs, some from BO6, some from older games, some shotties, a pistol even. It's a pretty competitive close range meta, which is definitely a very fun thing to see. But that's going to wrap things up for this video. If you enjoyed it, a like would seriously be appreciated. And if you're new to the channel and you want to guarantee that every single day you are in the know for all things going on in Call of Duty, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.